So let's quickly talk about the latest trends in 2022 as an opening remark. So Richa, would you comment on, is there something very specific that 2022 brings about resume writing?
Yeah, sure, Aditi. So trends are changing quickly and recruiters are focusing on new trends and skills. So the biggest change that I have seen in 2022 that recruiters have started looking for cover letter as well, apart from resume. Generally, candidates just submit their resume, and there is one more thing that recruiter really appreciate when the candidates approach them personally through email rather than submitting their resume on job portals, because that provides a personal touch.
Mm-hmm.
So cover letters that provides a personal touch. It builds credibility and helps in building relationship between the recruiter or hiring manager and the candidate.
That's
So
a
cover
very
letters,
interesting take. Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, so cover letter is something new which recruiter are looking for, and cover letter is more than just a formality or courtesy. So a cover letter basically gives you an opportunity to stand apart from the crowd, and there is a particular anatomy or system or format you can say what all we can include in a cover letter. First thing is that we must address the recruiter or hiring manager personally by addressing their name rather than addressing sir or ma'am, something like that. And secondly, it should include 3 paragraphs. Cover letter has to be divided in 3 paragraphs. First paragraph will include about the job ID, where you came across the job description, job portal, or LinkedIn, or something like that. They provide job ID, so that is very important. In the email subject line, it has to be mentioned. And second part is that what all you know about your potential organization, why you want to join that particular organization. And third one, the last paragraph, here will mention how our skills and expertise are totally in sync with the organization's visions and goals, and how a candidate is the perfect fit for a given organization or role. So
Okay.
this is the biggest trend in
Great.
2022.
Great. That's a very interesting insight, and cover letters definitely need to be more personalized. That's the most important part. So Gaurav, would you take this opportunity to brief about that opening remark question, in continuation to this, how should a employee or a prospect talk about himself or herself?
Yeah, no, that's true, Aditi. That's a very good question. And it's pretty much every interview I have given in the last 6 to 9 months, everybody asks, tell us a little bit about yourself, right? And that is, and the best part is, sometimes the interviewer phrases is, oh, I don't want to hear what you have told other people. So then they sometimes try to catch you off guard, right? So one thing what I have done is, as part of preparing for that question, tell me about yourself, I always try to customize it to the role that I'm applying for, to the company that I'm applying for a job at. And then the third thing I always look for is I try to add something based on the interviewer's background, right? I go check out the LinkedIn profile and always find something where there is a common theme of work, right? Where we might have worked on a similar area. So when I'm talking about tell me about yourself, I start with a reflection of my past, that, this is where I started. This is a type of a role I was doing. And this is why I'm excited. I'm looking for a job. And this is where I see a fit. And these are my passions. So overall, like, it may sound like 5 different steps, but if you do practice and craft it really well, you can get it done in about 1.5 to 2 minutes. And that's the right amount, like the right duration, because it sets the tempo of the conversation which you are going to have. Yeah.
Very, very rightly said, because this is, how soever common question it may be, but 99% of the times this is generally still the starting question, and many people tend to get it wrong, or at times you start with your childhood or your parental home, and a lot of irrelevant details which are generally not required. So everybody needs to be very careful about that. So very rightly said. Okay, so moving on next, Richa, there's a lot of talk about ATS enabled resumes, and this seems to be a lot of technical stuff going on. So let's talk about that. How to make what it is and how to make a good ATS enabled resume.
Sure, Aditi. So ATS is quite a buzzword nowadays. All the candidates and all the organizations are talking about ATS compliant resume, and even the clients who come to us, experts, they also want to confirm that we are providing ATS compliant resume or no. So basically, ATS stands for Application Tracking System, which is used by bigger organizations. Here, the hiring managers or recruiters preset the criterias based on their requirements, like years of experience, skill sets, and so on. So here comes the question how we can create our resume, which is ATS compliant. For that, we are supposed to go through the JD provided by the recruiter, try to understand the employer's recruitment requirement, what all they are looking for in a candidate, and according to that we can customize our resume so that it will clear our initial screening. And the benefit or biggest relevance of having a ATS compliant resume that we'll get through the initial screening process. So
Yeah, I
basically
think that's the most important part, because if the resume is not as per guidelines or as per the criteria, generally the shortlist itself would not happen. Even if you may be one of the best candidate, you may have the best chance. But my understanding says that your profile may not even reach a human, an HR person, to be screened further. So it is definitely, it's like being at the gate and denied entry. So
exactly. And one more thing, Aditi, here that for creating your ATS compliant resume, it is mandatory to go for text-based plain resume instead of infographic resume with lot many graphs, bars, and so on. So content is more important than the design and colors.
Oh, that's a very valid point, and because we have seen many freshers or youngsters trying to get attention through graphical resumes. So, very interesting point. Please avoid that, job seekers. So, we should not get into that. And let's talk about skills which get you through the ATS. Okay, so further taking on to that, Gaurav, what is your view on how to best talk about your technical skills or technical strengths during an interview once you've got through that? So please share some insight on that.
Right. So that's that's an important question, right? See, normally if you're working in tech and you're applying for a role in tech, you are guaranteed to have at least 2 to 3 rounds of technical interviews, and then there may be additional 2 to 3 rounds where you are just they call it leadership and drive, but and there may be reference to technology terms or technology topics in those interviews as well. So one thing, it depends on the experience of the person, how much experience the person has. Let's say for someone who is just coming out of school and they want to demonstrate their technical skills in an interview. If you are in a non-technical round where the company has explicitly mentioned that there will be no coding or anything like that, it's just a conversation with the interviewer. And if the interviewer asks you a question about a technology topic, a very good approach is, you, instead of diving deep into technology, start naming terms about the technology product that they have asked for or the technology they have asked for. It's always a good strategy to start asking questions to clarify the scope of what the interviewer has asked for, right? And that means if you look in terms of, in theory, like anytime you do execution, right, there is two things, right? There is strategy and there is tactics. So if you start talking about technology or technology topic in an interview, it's tactical. You have to shift to strategy. So if you are a new hire, like a new grad, what is strategy for you? You just demonstrate how you think, what type of questions you ask. Let's say somebody asks you a technology. Let's say, how would you uh, find the how would you find a prime number more than 1,000? Okay, then let's ask 3-4 questions. Show your thinking, show your thought process. Right now, let's say if you're a senior resource or like a mid-level resource who has more than 5 years experience and have been working in technology in the past, it is very important that you ask strategic questions. Please do not dive into technical or the technical solution. Don't dive into the solution right away. Clarify, talk about the whole ecosystem of the problem, right? Because now you have been working in the industry for 5 years. You know, let's say if you're a developer, just to ship your code into to a website, let's say you're working as a web developer, to get it live on the website, it has to go out of your box to the QA team. Out of the QA team, somebody has to test it. Then it goes to the release engineering, release management. Then it goes to the support. There's multiple levels, right? So you have to bring in that thought process that you can think through all different layers of the organization. And for senior roles, it's all the more important to focus on strategy, right? And if the interviewer explicitly says, I want I want you to type this out, I want you to explicitly tell me the steps, then go do those steps. And I am pretty sure if you're qualified, if your resume has been shortlisted, you are very well equipped to answer those. But the differentiation factor will be the strategic questions that you ask in these interviews.
Very, very valid point here, Gaurav. You very rightly said, strategic questions is the key here. And many times interviewees tend to, sway it down with a lot of technical details and getting micro. So please avoid that. Talk about the higher overview level, which conveys to the interviewer that you can think at that level. So very rightly said, guys. Strategy is the keyword here. So and actually most of the times it can be planned well, because as we just spoke about it, we know which organization you are going to interview with. So read about the organization, read about the products and services that they are offering, and you can very well frame those questions much in advance. So that's a very valid point. Okay, so moving on next, Richa, this one goes to you. There's a lot of buzzword around video resumes these days, and what I see is there's a split lobby around this. Some people say that videos give your persona and a lot of other positive aspects upfront. So it's good to have. It's a new thing, new technology. While I've also read a lot of blogs about, some people say that one should avoid at this stage and not use a video resume unless specifically asked for. So what is your take on that?
Yes, Aditi, this is the newest thing in resume industry. Lot many recruiters are specifically asking for video resume. So everything has pros and cons. So here, the biggest advantage of video resume is that your hiring manager or recruiter get to know about your overall personality and the way you communicate, your public speaking skills, and so on. So this is the advantage. But when it comes to our country, specifically South Asian countries, this is not getting really popular. In Western countries, this is quite popular. Here, plain text-based resume is more popular, which gives a proper idea about your skills, experiences, and so on. So in that case, we can fuse both the things together. Like there is a new thing upcoming where they side by side provide your text-based resume as well. So video resume and next of text-based resume is the newest thing that is getting popular.
Okay. Okay, so that's a valid way of looking at it. And relating to the same question, Gaurav, so video is also showing more of your personality actually, in a way. So how do you demonstrate your personality best in an interview? Any specific tips you would want to guide here during an interview?
Right. So that is such an important piece of video interviews these days. I still remember the days when, you would go to an office space and then you'll talk to the interviewer in person. So, there were so many nuances that the interviewer like could catch about you, could, assess about you. Is your confidence, are you nervous or not? Or are you comfortable or not, right? Are you feeling thirsty? But when you are in a video interview, none of that, the interviewer doesn't get to see any of that, right? And that's where it is very important for you to share how you're feeling, right? If you're nervous, just say I'm nervous, right? Say it's a very good question. Let me take a moment to think about it, right? And that will give you the time to essentially think what you want to, how you want to respond to that question, right? So one thing what I have really found is I have started taking breaks when I am, I ask for a moment, ask for 60 seconds to get my thoughts together. And is it my personality? No, I'm like I used to be a very impromptu guy. You ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. But the thing is, if I start giving an answer on a video interview, I don't know what I'm going to say. So I always take that time. Now, the second thing is you always look in the camera. You always look at the camera, essentially, right? You're looking in the camera. It's okay to look on the side a couple of times, but the interviewer should be able to connect with you, right? And that's another thing that's very important. And keep it like conversation, like give an answer, don't speak for more than 60 to 90 seconds, and give an opportunity for the interviewer to ask you follow-up questions. Because that is, even if you are someone who just wants to bulldoze through the whole question, try to break it up. If the interviewer connects to, resonates with what you are saying, they will ask follow-up questions, right? This will help you demonstrate how you think and also help you navigate through anxious scenarios, and will give you the time to think and respond, correctly.
Very, very a critical point here. And I would just reiterate the core point here, that take your time to gather your thoughts before you start speaking. So that is the key here, because many a times, and especially when it is a video interview, we tend to get bogged down at times, and we just, the moment even the question is not even fully asked, we tend to jump into it. So please do not do that. There are tricks to, take those 10 seconds or 20 seconds to gather your thoughts. You could, ask a follow-up question, as Gaurav just said. So it is very important to assemble your thoughts in your mind and then talk about it more mindfully. That will really help you answer the same thing with more confidence and get you through the intent. Okay, perfect. So let's take up the last question for the day, I think, and then we could take up another session for more details. So last question that I would want to ask today is maybe Richa, if you could take us through what are the top 5 soft skills or maybe transferable skills that we must include in our resume? Because what I understand is we should not talk about directly, I'm a go-getter, I'm energetic, enthusiastic. So you should not repeat those things, of course, as soft skills. So how do you still convey that in a best way in your resume so that it's not repetitive, it's not theoretical?
Yeah, Aditi. So basically, soft skills differs from freshers to mid-level or senior level. For both the groups, there has to be different set of soft skills. And we are not supposed to just list the soft skills. Instead of that, we have to explain them through our achievements or results that we are getting. to pointers. And one more thing that we can include few soft skills in our profile summary sections also, because that is the main place at which recruiter look at. So this is the one thing, and there are basically 4-5 soft skills for freshers, like effective communication, learnability, how quickly they are able to learn new skills, or their ability to grasp new things, and how adaptable they are to change conditions, cross-functional team management, how quickly they can adapt with the cross-functions team. Their problem solving skills is another point, how they approach, what is their approach towards a given problem. And when it comes to senior levels, the set is entirely different. For instance, for senior levels, empathetic leadership is very important. What is their emotional intelligence approach towards towards his or her employees or team members, and how effectively they manage their team, what is their bonding level. And there is one more thing, their creative problem solving approach, what are the innovative ways they are adapting to solve a given problem. And the last one is active listening. Generally, at senior level, people are not very welcoming to take suggestions from their juniors or team members. So that is another thing which is getting popular. So these are the skills they can include in their resume, and it should not be merely listed. It has to be visible that the other person actually has those skills.
That's
So
very
these
well
are the
conveyed, Richa. Yeah, very well conveyed. And you very rightly said for, say, senior leadership, I'll just reiterate, empathy and emotional intelligence are really a big thing that one should focus upon. And just not listing, one has to demonstrate even during the interview. So just focus on that part. And also, just to add on to this, maybe in language form, you could add on your soft skills in the cover letter. So it's a good opportunity to take a couple of lines in the cover letter and add about how you approach a thing, or it's because it's a lot of creative stuff there. So take a couple of lines there, and you can do that job. Perfect. So
So here,
last, yeah,
Aditi,
yeah,
excuse me, here one relevant point is there. We are not supposed to repeat the same content of resume in our cover letter.
correct.
So here we can include something that we are missing in our resume. And
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Perfect. So moving ahead, since we're running out of time now, Gaurav, last question to you would be, and especially if it is a mid to senior level interview, how to respond best to career progression, or maybe even relate to what is a very open-ended question that generally comes, what do you want from life now, or what is your vision further? So how do you respond best to that?
Right. Uh, well, for mid to senior level, and I'm glad you phrased this, you preface this with mid to senior level. And it is so common, it is being asked in literally every interview that, the question may not be the same way. It could be like, oh, why are you looking for a new job?
Yeah.
Or, why do you want to work here? Right, essentially it's the same question to what you just asked. And this is the time where you demonstrate, you need to really give a strong reason that why are you looking for a new job, and what do you see yourself doing in the next 2 to 3 years, right? So like for me, I can give you like my example, how I came across this, and how I prepared my answer. My thing was, I always wanted to do basically see impact of the work that I do, right? And working in enterprise product, it takes a good 18 to 24 months before I see any positive impact of the work I did. Now I just want to see the impact probably on a monthly basis, right? So that's where I want to get into a role which gives me the ability to do that. This is one. Now this, you have to give 2 to 3 points. The second point I give is why this is important to me, because in the last 18 to 24 months, I have went through a shift in my mindset or shift in my values, where, instead of just, being a consumer of technology or being a consumer at a organization, I want to be a contributor as well. And that's the type of organization I'm looking at. So these are the two main things that I always say. And this aligns with the roles I'm applying for. This aligns with the organization I'm applying for, because when I apply for a job, I have already looked at the values of that company. So if there is no alignment, I don't even apply there. So when I'm giving these examples, these reasons, it resonates with the interviewer. So that's a very important question, and you need to have a really strong response. Because if the interviewer, if let's say your VP is interviewing you and the VP says, I don't get it, your chances of clearing the interview are pretty much zero. But if the VP says, yeah, this makes sense, your chances of clearing the interview are high.
Very well said, Gaurav. Very rightly said. So I would just reiterate the point. Core values is something that one should really actually look at the core values of the organization that you are looking for, and even see that if the core values match up or not, and if you would really be a good fit or not. Generally, it's not a very good idea to just go for anything because you need a job desperately. It may be in a very rare situation where if you are running out of time and your finances, but for a good career move or growth, which should be ideally well defined, well thought of, one should not jump into anywhere, any industry, or any impulsive decisions after appraisals. I would just take that as a closing remark, since we started with career growth part. So don't jump into any opportunity that comes your way just because you're not happy with your current organization. Plan it well. You take a target of say 2 to 3 months, which is a reasonable time when you're looking at a career growth, and shortlist a few companies, few organizations that you aspire to be a part of, read about them, follow them, and then of course, assuming that the core values match up, prepare well for the interview, and of course match up your resume accordingly. So that is how I think it would help you all. So any closing remarks, Richa and Gaurav, and then we would take leave.
So my only suggestion to all the people here, that keep up skilling, keep evolving, and be confident about your career and about yourself. That's all from my side.
Wonderfully said. Skill enhancement is definitely a key these days. It is a never-ending process. So whenever you get an opportunity, just go and grab it. So Gaurav.
Yeah, so for me, I think there is a phrase going around. It's called "you only live once." Right? So a lot of youngsters, they justify things doing or chasing opportunities or ideas because, oh yeah, you only live once. So for your career is the same. If you are looking to on a growth path and you have been in a role for maybe, let's say 5-6 years, give yourself some time, take some time, analyze what you really want, and then go for it. There are enough opportunities which you will be a good fit for, and they will meet all your criteria.
Perfect. Sounds good. And thank you so much for all the inputs, Gaurav and Richa here. And our humble apologies to the viewers for the technical issue we faced with the LinkedIn Live. We'll be more thorough next time, and we'll come back with a bang, a bigger bang, and stay tuned. We'll have lots of further conversations around this. And in case you have any queries regarding resume writing or interview tips, feel free to write in a comment here. I would also write in the mail ID. You could feel free to share your queries here and connect with the experts. So see you soon, guys. Stay tuned. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.